Hello friends, in this video we are going to study about the measurement of sound. Here we will study the device microphone which is used for the measurement of sound. We will study the different types of microphone, how they are classified, their construction, working and their applications along with their advantages and disadvantages. So let us start with our topic. So for the measurement of sound, or we can say sound waves are a type of acoustic waves or having the acoustic energy. So sound waves are measured with the help of an instrument or device known as microphone. The short name for microphone is mic. So whenever we say sound waves, it means we are talking about the acoustic energy. So this microphone, it measures the sound by converting this acoustic energy into an electrical energy. So acoustic energy or sound wave, it is a non-electrical quantity, and non-electrical quantity is converted into an electrical quantity. Okay, so we can say that microphone is a type of transducer which converts the acoustic energy, that is the sound waves, into the electrical energy. So transducers are mainly defined as the devices which convert one form of energy to another form. So here acoustic energy is converted into an electrical energy, and also those devices which convert the non-electrical quantity into an electrical quantity. So sound is a non-electrical quantity and electrical signal is a electrical quantity. Okay, this electrical signal is mainly the voltage, or it can be resistance or capacitance. So any change in this sound is measured by changing any of these electrical signals. Now these microphones, they are used in many applications, like in the telephones, in the hearing aids, in public events, like in the concerts, and in halls also microphones or mic is being used, in in computers also for recording the voice. So these microphones, they have wide variety of applications in different areas for the measurement of sound also, and for the generation of the sound. So there are different applications of the microphone. Now let us see that how this microphone, it measures the sound by converting it into an electrical signal. Now all the microphones, they consist of two basic elements. One is the sensing element and other is the generating element. So the work of the sensing element is to convert the sound waves into the pressure waves, and the work of the generating element is to convert the pressure waves into the electrical signal. So in this way, the sound energy is converted into an electrical energy. First, the sound waves are converted into pressure waves, and then pressure waves are converted into an electrical signal. So this conversion of sound waves into the pressure waves, this is done by the sensing element, and the conversion of pressure waves into electrical signal is done by the generating element. Now in most of these microphones, the sensing element is the diaphragm. Diaphragm is the primary sensing element which measures the pressure. So diaphragm is the sensing element which is going to convert the sound waves into the pressure waves. So this diaphragm, it is a thin membrane. So diaphragm is a thin membrane which is going to vibrate due to the variations, pressure variations of the sound. Because when the sound waves, they are going to strike the diaphragm is going to change its shape because it is a very thin membrane. Okay, so the amount of pressure applied by the sound waves, they are going to produce the deformations in the diaphragm. Diaphragm is going to change its shapes. So sound waves are converted into the pressure waves. The more the frequency of the sound waves, the more will be the pressure. The less the frequency, the less will be the pressure. So sound waves are converted into the pressure waves. Now the generating element, because it has to convert the pressure waves into electrical signals, so there are various types of transducers which can be used here, which convert the pressure waves into electrical signals, like an output voltage, a change in the resistance, change in the capacitance, change in inductance. So there are various transduction elements which can be used as the generating element in the microphones. So generating element, its function is to convert the pressure waves which are generated by the diaphragm into an electrical voltage. It has to convert those pressure vibrations into the electrical voltage. So these generating elements, there are the type of generating element depends upon the transduction method which is used for this conversion. Okay. So first classification of the microphones, it is based on the type of generating element present in the microphone. So here first we will study the types of microphones depending upon the generating element. Now on the basis of the generating element, the different types of microphones are carbon microphone, in which carbon granules are used, and due to the diaphragm there will be a change in the resistance of those carbon granules. Then we have the capacitive microphone, dynamic microphones, inductive microphones, and piezoelectric microphones. So these are the 5 types of microphones depending upon the generating element which is converting the vibrations from the diaphragm into an electrical voltage. Okay, so in the carbon microphones, the change in resistance is occurring due to the pressure variations. Okay, the sound waves are going to be converted into pressure waves. Those pressure waves causes the change in the resistance, and due to the change in the resistance, the output voltage generated will be different. Capacitive, there will be a change in capacitance. The dynamic type, that depends upon the electromagnetic principle. Inductive type, there will be a change in the inductance, and piezoelectric type, there will be a change in the frequency. Okay, so let us study these types of microphones in detail. First we will start with the carbon microphones. Now, as I have said that in the carbon microphones, carbon granules are used. So let us see its construction. So this carbon microphone, it consists of the carbon granules, and these carbon granules are compressed. And due to the compression of these carbon granules, there will be a change in the resistance. So we can see that say that these carbon microphones, they basically work on the principle of change in the resistance when they are compressed. Okay, let's see its diagram. So this is the diagram for the carbon microphones. In this you can see that we are having 2 electrodes. One electrode is the diaphragm and another electrode is the fixed electrode. In between these 2 electrodes we are having the carbon granules. Now when the sound waves come, they are going to be converted into the pressure waves by this diaphragm. Okay, because diaphragm is acting as one of the electrodes, so when sound waves come to it, due to the pressure, it is going to change its shape. Now due to this change in shape of the diaphragm, the carbon granules, they are compressed, and when these carbon granules are compressed, there will be a change in the resistance of these granules. Okay, so generally this resistance is going to decrease. Okay, so when the resistance decreases, we know that the output voltage which we are measuring between the diaphragm and the fixed electrode, that voltage is also going to change. So we are going to measure the signal output, and due to the change in the resistance, there will be a change in the output voltage, and this change in output voltage is a measure of the sound waves. Okay, so in this way, the carbon microphone, it measures the sound by measuring the change in the resistance. So let's see it's working in the form of a flow chart. So carbon granules are there. When on these carbon granules sound waves strike, the carbon granules or the carbon granules are compressed. They are compressed because the diaphragm is going to vibrate due to the sound waves. So sound waves, when they strike the diaphragm is going to vibrate, and the sound waves are converted into the pressure waves, and due to that the carbon granules are compressed. So there will be a change in resistance. And we know that whenever there is a change in resistance in a circuit, there will be a change in the flow of current. So resistance, there is a change in resistance, so there will be a change in current also. Okay, so this current, it can be measured because we are measuring the output of the microphone. So the change in output is a measure of the change in the or it is a measure of the sound waves. Okay, so this was the carbon microphone. Now if we see the applications of the carbon microphone, it is mainly used in earlier days in the telephones. In telephone applications, they are most probably be used because they give very high output. So in telephones, there will be no need of amplification. So the wide applications or the wide use of these carbon microphone is in the field of the telephones. Okay. Now the next type of microphone is the capacitive or the condenser microphone. Now this microphone is working on the principle that the change in the sound waves. So this capacitive microphone, it is working on the principle that due to the sound waves there will be a change in the capacitance. Okay, so in the capacitor we know that there are two plates. Okay, so one plate is the diaphragm. Due to the sound waves, the diaphragm is going to change its shape and converted into the pressure waves, and due to the movement of the diaphragm there will be a change in the capacitance. So that change in capacitance is a measure of the sound waves. Okay, let's see its diagram. So this is the construction of the or the diagram for the condenser and the capacitive, or we can say capacitive microphone. Here you can see that capacitor is having two plates. One plate is the diaphragm, which is the thin membrane which is in contact with the sound waves, and the other plate is the back plate, which is a solid metal plate. Okay, and these two plates we are measuring the output here. Okay, the connections are made here, and this is the battery. A resistor is being connected now, and the sound waves, they come in contact, or they are going to strike this diaphragm. The diaphragm is going to convert it into the pressure waves, and due to that pressure the diaphragm is going to change its shape. Okay, diaphragm is just as a flat diaphragm. When this sound waves strike it, it is going to bend. Okay, or its shape is being changed. So due to the change in shape of the diaphragm, the capacitance value is going to change. Okay, and this change in capacitance, we know that capacitance is related with the voltage. Okay, so as the capacitance is changing, voltage is also going to change, and that change in voltage is a measure of the sound waves. So in this way, the capacitive microphone, it measures the sound. So that is the working, that when the sound waves, they hit the diaphragm is going to move in the backward and the forward direction, and due to that there will be a change in the capacitance, and change in capacitance causes the change in the output voltage. Now comes the third type of microphone, which is the dynamic microphone. The dynamic microphone, they work on the principle of electromagnetic transduction, that we will be having a coil. That coil will be wounded across the core, and to that coil, due to the alternating current flowing in that coil, a magnetic field will be produced. Okay, so the changes in the magnetic field are going to occur due to the pressure waves. Okay, so diaphragm is going to move because of the sound waves and convert it into pressure waves. Due to that, the magnetic field intensity is going to change. Okay, so due to that, the output voltage generated will be different. Okay, and the change in output voltage is a measure of the sound waves. Let us first see the diagram for the dynamic microphone, and then we will see its working. So this is the diagram for the dynamic microphone. You can see that it consists of a membrane and a coil, and these two the membrane and the coil, they are suspended with each other. Okay, now this coil is wounded across this membrane and it is kept in a permanent magnet. So when this coil is moving in this permanent magnet, there will be a magnetic field, and because the current is flowing through it, so this magnetic field be in alternating nature. Okay, now these dynamic microphones, they work on the principle of electromagnetic transduction. And this principle says that when a coil is moved in a magnetic field, then an alternating voltage is generated. Now, as the sound waves, they come in contact with this membrane. This membrane is the diaphragm. Okay, and membrane and coil are connected with each other. So when the sound waves, they strike this membrane is going to push this coil inside this magnet. Okay, now when this coil is moved in this magnet, it is having a magnetic field. Okay, and due to the movement of this coil in this magnetic field, and voltage will be generated. Okay, so depending upon the pressure of the sound waves, because sound waves are converted into pressure waves and pressure is being applied on the coil and coil is moving in the magnetic field, so the output voltage that is generated will be proportional to the sound waves. Okay, so that is the electromagnetic induction, that due to the change in the magnetic field, the output voltage generated will be changed. So let's see it's working. So its working is described in the form of a flow chart, that the sound waves, they forces the membrane. Due to that force, the membrane is going to move towards the magnet. Okay, you can see this is the suspended membrane. So when the force is being applied on this membrane is going to move towards the magnet. Okay, so when this membrane move towards the magnet, the coil is going to move into the magnetic field. Okay, this is the permanent magnet U-shaped, so in between it magnetic field will be produced. So due to the motion of the coil, it is going to move across the magnetic field, and the output voltage is generated across the terminals of this coil. Now due to this output voltage, it depends upon the motion of the coil, and motion of the coil is due to the pressure applied by the membrane, and this pressure is proportional to the sound waves. So we can say that the output voltage is related with the sound waves, pressure of the sound waves. So in this way, this output voltage is a direct measure of the sound. Okay, now some of the features of these dynamic microphones, they are most widely used. Okay, and now they are the one which are generally used for the measurement of sound. So some of its features are low output impedance, low sensitivity. They can operate in the ultrasonic region, and due to that they find their applications in underwater. They are transducers because they are converting the non-electrical quantity into an electrical quantity. So this was the dynamic microphone. The next type of microphone is the inductive microphone. So these inductive microphones, they work on the principle of the change in inductance. The diaphragm, because the diaphragm is converting the sound waves into the pressure waves, and these pressure waves are going to change the magnetic conditions of some materials. And due to that change in the magnetic conditions or magnetic property of that materials, there will be a change in the inductance. Okay. So they works on the principle of change in inductance. So they work on the principle of change in inductance. Diaphragm is going to change the magnetic properties of certain materials. And due to that change in the magnetic properties, there will be a change in the displacement, and that change in displacement is measured with the help of the displacement transducers. And displacement transducers, they convert the change in displacement into change in the output voltage. Okay, so we can say that the change in the sound waves, they are converted into pressure waves by diaphragm. Diaphragm is changing the magnetic properties of the material. The change in magnetic property is causing the change in displacement, and change in displacement is measured by measuring the change in the output voltage. Okay. So the displacement transducer, they are going to convert the displacement into the electrical signal, or we can say electrical voltage. So that is the working of the inductive microphone, which works on the principle of the change in inductance, because magnetic properties are related with the inductance. And diaphragm is causing the change in the inductance, and change in inductance is causing the change in the dimensions. Now the next type of microphone is the piezoelectric microphone. Now piezoelectric microphone, they uses the piezoelectric crystals, and we know that the piezoelectric crystals, they have the property that when force is applied over them, then an output voltage is generated. And piezoelectric crystals, they are self-generating type transducers. They do not require any external source for their operation. Okay, they are internally, they are going to generate the voltage which is required for its operation. So piezoelectric microphones, they uses the piezoelectric effect. Piezoelectric effect is that when a force is applied on the piezoelectric crystal, or that piezoelectric crystal is compressed, then an output voltage is generated. So whenever the crystal is compressed or force is applied over it, an output voltage will be generated. Now let's see the diagram for the piezoelectric microphone. So this is the construction of the piezoelectric microphone. When the sound waves they strike this diaphragm, the diaphragm is going to change its shape and it is going to apply the pressure waves over this piezoelectric crystal. So piezoelectric crystal, it is going to deform, and due to the deformations in the piezoelectric crystal, the output voltage is generated, and this output voltage is proportional to the pressure applied by the sound waves. Okay, so this is how the piezoelectric crystals the piezoelectric microphone they work. Let's see it's working. Sound waves strike the diaphragm. Diaphragm changes its shape. And due to the deformation of the crystals, the two sides of the crystal they are going to generate two opposite charges. Okay, and the amount of charge generated or the amount of voltage generated is a measure of the sound waves. As soon as the sound waves are removed, the diaphragm is going to come back to its original shape. Pressure will be removed from the crystal and no output voltage will be generated. Okay, so the magnitude of the output voltage is proportional to the magnitude of the force applied by the sound waves on the crystal. Okay, now in earlier times, in the early crystal microphones, because here we have to use the piezoelectric crystal. Okay, and the most common piezoelectric crystal is the Rochelle salt. So in the early crystal microphones or piezoelectric microphones, Rochelle salt is used as the piezoelectric crystal, but this Rochelle salt has the disadvantage that it is sensitive to moisture and also it is somewhat fragile. So due to these disadvantages, instead of Rochelle salts, now the microphones they use the ceramic materials like the barium titanate, lead zirconate. Okay, so nowadays barium titanate and lead zirconate is used as the piezoelectric crystals in these microphones. The advantage of these type of microphone is that they give a comparatively large output as compared to other microphones. But the disadvantage of this is that its frequency response is not good. Okay, so this was the piezoelectric microphones. So we have studied about the types of microphones depending upon the generating element which is used for the conversion of the pressure waves into the electrical voltage. In that we saw 5 types of microphones: carbon microphone, capacitive microphone, dynamic microphone, inductive microphone and piezoelectric microphone. So this was the first classification of the microphones on the depending on the generating element. Now the next classification of the microphones or the factor on the basis of which the microphones are selected is the pattern generated by the microphone. So there are two types of microphones depending upon the pickup patterns. One is the omnidirectional pickup pattern and other is the unidirectional pickup pattern. So the shape of the pattern produced by the microphone, on the basis of that they are divided into omnidirectional and unidirectional categories. In omnidirectional, the pickup pattern of the microphone is represented as a inflated balloon. So when the balloon is inflated, so it forms a circular parts. Okay, circular shape will be there. So the way in which the balloon is inflated, in that way the pickup pattern of the microphone is represented. So here we can also say that it is the polar pattern. Whereas in the unidirectional, it is also called the cardioid type of microphone. And in that, the pickup pattern is represented as a heart shape. Cardio is used for heart. So pickup patterns, they are represented in the form of a heart. Or we can say that apple is can also be used to represent the pattern of the microphone, where the stem of the apple is a microphone and the shape of the apple, in that form the pickup patterns of microphones are represented. So depending upon the pattern shape, there are two types of microphones, omnidirectional and unidirectional. So this was the second classification of the microphone based on the pattern of based on the pickup pattern. Next is the microphone frequency response. Frequency response is the next factor on the basis of which the type of microphone is decided. Frequency response also plays the very important role in the selection of the microphone for different type of application, that what type of frequency response is needed, according to that microphone is selected. Suppose that in an application, if the frequency response is of rising type, okay, so that type of microphone is used to emphasize the brightness of a trumpet or other instruments. In musical instruments also microphone is used. So if the microphone is having a rising type of frequency response, so that is going to increase the brightness of a trumpet or the other instrument. Now if the frequency response is having a proximity effect, then it is going to affect the bass of a singer. So the variations of the sound, that which factor we want to increase, according to that frequency response of that microphone is chosen, and that microphone is used for that particular application. So the selection of the microphone for different application is based on the type of feature which we want from that microphone. So frequency response also decides the microphone types. Next is the impedance of the mic. So impedance also plays a very important role in the type of microphone. The microphone can either have a very high impedance or low impedance. So if the microphone is having very high impedance, then it is going to give a higher output. And if it is having low impedance, then it is going to give a low output. Okay, but instead of giving these low output, the low impedance microphones, they are much better than the high impedance microphone. That is why in most of the applications, the low impedance microphones are preferred over the high impedance microphone, instead of its advantage that it provides a very high output. So these are the four factors on the basis of which the microphones can be classified. That is the type of generating element, then the impedance, frequency response, and the pickup pattern. So here in this video, we studied about the measurement of sound. We studied that sound is measured with the help of the instrument microphone, and microphone measures sound by converting into pressure waves, and pressure waves are then converted into an electrical voltage. Sound waves are converted into pressure waves by the sensing element, that is diaphragm, and pressure waves are converted into output voltage by the generating element. And there are different types of generating element. So we saw the types of microphones on the basis of the four factors here. We saw their advantages, disadvantages, and their applications also. So I hope that this topic is now clear to you. Thank you.